The love between a mother and daughter could never be measured, with perhaps one exception.
Superstar Celine Dion is one of the top singers in the world, but now she's in the spotlight for a very personal struggle.
Imagine coming in contact with someone that would change your whole life and make your dream come true. Beautiful, right? This is the exact story of a young, passionate girl, Diane, who had an empowering encounter with Celine Dion. As a little girl, she loved to sing and dreamed of singing in a talent show. She thought her dreams were just dreams, until she met Celine, who helped her manifest those dreams. How did Celine help this young girl actualize her dreams? Join me as we uncover the thrilling story of how Diane's dreams paved the way for her future. A day in the park. It was a beautiful Wednesday afternoon. The sun was shining brightly, the sky was clear, and the whole environment serene. It was a lovely and peaceful day at the park. The laughter of children filled the air. Their excitement brought profound glee and satisfaction in their parents' hearts as they played around, jumping in happiness and ecstasy. Their joy was unmatched and contagious. However, in the midst of all this joy, happiness, and radiant sky, was a little girl selling lemonade. Her name was Diane, a 9-year-old whose heart was filled with big dreams and face covered with a smile that was so contagious. Her lemonade stand was located at the center of the park, where people could easily locate. She added bright colors to the drapes she used in covering her table, for she thought it would attract potential buyers. Her signpost read, "Diane's Lemonade, 50 cents." She was certain that if she sold her lemonade at a cheaper rate, her stand would be buzzing with people who would buy everything. However, she didn't expect that her selling lemonade would single her out for greatness. Stay tuned as we dive into the heart of the story. That day, she stood close to her stand, her eyes glistening with hope and anticipation for sales. Her thoughts slowly drifted off to a talent show she watched at home. There, she saw young people like her making an impact with their voices. She longed to be like them someday. She had an amazing voice, and she wished other people apart from her parents could notice that. She promised that she would sell lemonade until she could save enough money for one of those talent shows. She smiled at the thoughts of it and imagined herself already singing heartily away in one of those talent shows and making people cheer and clapping their hands in complete glee and joy. However, she was immediately brought back to reality when she heard a lady's voice asking for a cup of lemonade, which she immediately sold. She was glad she was able to sell something, and she hummed a little tune to herself with profound hope for more sales. In the midst of her gratitude and hope, she didn't notice a sleek car that parked in front of her stand. The gentle voice of the person, however, brought her back to reality. It was Celine herself, the legendary singer and her #1 role model. Her eyes immediately widened in shock. She never thought she'd come face to face with the one person she admired most. Celine immediately understood the girl's plight and smiled to make the already tense Diane relaxed. She asked for a cup of lemonade and told Diane with a little smile tugged at her chin that she was extremely thirsty. Celine immediately made a cup ready and prepared her role model's drink with extra care. Her hands were shaking a bit, and her eyes glistened with something so radiant and pure. It was happiness. Happy that she finally saw the one person she looked up to as a child. She was soon done with the drink, and she gave it to Celine. Celine took a sip and nodded her head in satisfaction and was amazed at how good the little girl was. Diane looked up to Celine, her hands clasped behind her back, her eyes shining with childlike admiration. Celine noticed the girl's admiration. Though used to receiving those looks from her fans, she was moved by how real the little girl's own looks. She asked Diane of her name, which Diane responded almost immediately. Underneath those soft glare and wide smiles, Celine noticed something about the little girl. She saw a spark of hope in Diane's eyes, and the happiness that accompanied those hopes. Then, she asked Diane what inspired her lemonade stand. Diane's face lit up immediately, her thoughts running wild. Was the legendary singer really interested in her? She thought. She responded in the most calmed way she could muster, as she beat her racing heart and sweaty palms. She was excited that Celine was interested in her. Immediately, her little voice told of how she was trying to save enough money that would get her to a talent show. Celine looked at the little girl and knew almost immediately that there was something special about her. She asked Diane what she would be doing at the talent show. Diane's answers came in a rush, and her eyes looked dreamy as she talked of how well she sang. She told Celine of how incredible her voice was, and wished others could hear it too. She confessed of admiring Celine and dreamed of singing like her someday. Celine was immediately moved by the girl's confession, and her eyes shone with gratitude. Immediately, Diane sang one of her all-time favorite songs of Celine, "Near You." Celine was moved by how infectious and amazing Diane's voice was, and immediately chipped in. People in the park couldn't help but admire the duo. Some were moved to tears, for the melody they created was pleasing to the ears and heart-lifting. Others took photos of the duo, and were ready to spread it across their social media platforms. Diane was excited. She never believed she could pull such crowds to hear her sing. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, and her admiration for Celine increased. Celine was spellbound, too. She wasn't expecting the little girl's voice to be that incredible. She admired how Diane sang with her strength and heart, making her pitch perfect and incredible. Just like fate, everything started to fall in place for the young girl. A life-turning opportunity. After all the singing, clapping, and happiness, Celine paid Diane for the drink she made for her, tipping her with more cash. Diane's heart was filled with gratitude and thanked Celine profusely. Celine waved the little girl goodbye as she went to her car. But before she left, she reminded Diane of how wonderful her voice was, and urged her to keep singing that. Certainly, her voice would pave ways for her. Diane was grateful and thanked Celine. She promised to sing her heart out, and use her voice as an instrument of peace, love, and well-being. Celine smiled at her resolutions, and then boarded her car. After Celine left, Diane was left in awe and admiration for the legendary singer. She admired her high-pitched voice, and how perfectly she controlled her breath while singing. Her hands folded the crisp notes on her palms, and she resolved to keep those money separate from the ones she made that day. Many onlookers rushed to her stand immediately Celine left, and complimented her on how well she sang. Some assured her of going places with that incredible voice and talents. Most of her peers surrounded her and urged her to teach them a thing or two about singing, for they also longed to sing with Celine someday. She, however, laughed them off, and encouraged them to find their own unique talents. Her stand bustled with customers, and she made enough sales. She hoped and longed to meet Celine some other time, but as days passed on, there was no hope of meeting her idol. Her stand that was usually filled with people asking her questions of how her meeting with Celine was now quiet. Her thoughts traveled down memory lane as she let the soft breeze make her already tense face cool. Her mind wandered to the many possibilities of meeting Celine again. Her heart reignited with the hope that maybe she'd be able to sing side by side with her idol in a talent show. She allowed the soft breeze to calm her nerves as she listened to the sounds of leaves rustling. She wasn't going to lose hope, she thought. She wasn't going to let her dreams go down the drain, she affirmed. Sooner or later, by and by, she was certain her dreams would soon turn into reality. Her lips curled up in a soft smile when she made those affirmations. Her racing heart suddenly paved way for serenity. When determination meets dreams, she was certain success would be the outcome. She wasn't expecting what next the universe had in store for her, nor was she expecting the soft smiles of Celine once more. But just like some dreams, hers became reality, a dream come true. It was on a very ordinary day. The sky was beautiful, the atmosphere serene, and the sun casted an hollow glow on the environment, giving a refreshing sensation to the people in the park. Dogs barked in eager anticipation to catch balls thrown at them by little children. Parents walked, some alone, others in groups talking about issues pertaining to them. No one could dispute the fact that the environment was really beautiful and peaceful. Diane was in the park that day too. Her little eyes scanned the vehicles that came in and out of the park. The hope for meeting Celine again was fading away slowly. She thought she was never going to see her idol again. Her fragile fingers held onto the helm of her dress as she waited in eager anticipation for what she alone could think. Her mind pictured her, standing before judges singing one of Celine's songs and then attracting the attention of Celine once more. She never thought or imagined that her idol would be back, and she never foresaw the surprise that would accompany Celine. Diane looked out again, this time with complete abandonment, reminiscing on the day she met Celine, and she smiled a little bit. Immediately, she saw a black, sleek car, like the one Celine came with the day she came to buy lemonade, and her eyes widened with shock and anticipation. Was Celine really the one out there? She thought. She couldn't complete her thoughts as she looked on, stupefied and engulfed by the sudden appearance of Celine. Celine came down from the sleek car, dressed with highly fashionable and unique clothes, carrying a bag and putting on a hat. She smiled when she noticed the surprised look on Diane's face, and she was glad she could give the little girl renewed hope for her future. She looked at Diane's face and noticed how pleased and excited she was. Diane wasn't expecting the graceful coming of Celine, and her facial expressions said it all. Her eyes were lit up with happiness, her mouth slightly opened, and her heart beating mildly. Celine looked at the little girl and told her she had to come see her, for she was really remarkable the last time they sang together. Diane's eyes softened as tears welled up her eyes, for she was a really emotional little girl. But that wasn't all. Celine did something more remarkable, something that will make your heart melt. She offered Diane a ticket for a talent show. Diane was spellbound at first. Her hands shook as she tried to hold the ticket. Her body couldn't move. Tears of joy fell down her cheeks. She looked at Celine and her limbs gave way. She ran into her arms, embedding her head on her chest, giving Celine a tight hug. Her voice finally gave in, though a bit shaky with excitement. She told Celine how grateful she was, and how delighted her little heart yelped for joy. Celine held the little girl's arms, looked into her eyes and reassured her of how wonderful she was. She told Celine of how impactful her voice was, and how she really wanted to help her spread that voice to the world and beyond. She reminded Diane that dreams were, however, just a key to reality. She put in that a mind that was able to dream would certainly make wonders and would definitely transform their lives. She said she noticed how Diane's purpose in life would be fulfilled if she sang at a talent show, and she only had to do what was right. She recalled her own journey on her musical career and mused on how there wasn't much difference between her and Diane. Diane was touched and super grateful. She poured out her admiration once again on Celine. She described how thankful and blessed she was on meeting with Celine. Her little eyes shone up with more hope and fulfillment for her future. She was finally going to sing in a talent show. Her voice would finally be heard all around the world. She was super excited and couldn't wait to tell her mom the wonderful news. She pleaded with Celine to accompany her to her home, as she was going to let her mom share in her joy. Celine was more than excited to follow her home. On getting to her house, she met with her mother and told her mom of the wonderful things Celine did for her. Her mom was very thankful and told Celine of how much Diane was eager to join the talent show that she had to sell lemonade to pursue the dream. Celine said she was super happy to be of help and was ever ready to watch the little girl become successful. She told Diane's mom of how talented Diane is, and she was certain she would win the talent show and make a name for herself. Celine Dion provided renowned hope into the little heart of Diane, and proven to us that where dreams lays, hope resides too. Her surprised comeback made the life of a little lemonade seller impactful. Do you think what Celine did was worthwhile? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.